You're on time because you're lagging behind. Okay? Just keep up. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Go Premanande.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. There's a bench here too. If anyone wants to sit here rather than sitting on the floor, that's also open. And so Dravida is going to speak tonight. He's going to start with poetry, and then we'll have some more kirtan. We'll also have Jagannath Ashtakam. Niharika will lead Jagannath Ashtakam later on after Dravida poetry and talk. Now, I was asked to introduce Dravida Prabhu, but I think literally every single person here knows him very, very, very well. But in case anyone does not
probably know me
remember,
better than I know myself.
yes, in case anyone does not remember, Dravida Prabhu has been part of Srila Prabhupada's Hare Krishna movement since 1973. Yeah, 1973. Almost all of those years he's been serving by helping edit Srila Prabhupada's books, and he still helps with that service, in addition to helping at the San Diego Temple train the brahmacharis, maintain the standards of the temple, the morning program at the temple, all the kirtans and classes at the temple. So tonight he will share some of his poetry, because that's also been a big contribution of his. He'll share some poetry, and then he'll speak a little bit about Lord Jagannath, because we're celebrating the Lord Jagannath deities at this home. Bhakti and Sunesh's home.
Tomorrow.
Say again?
Oh, Rath Yatra in Puri tomorrow?
No, Snan Yatra.
Oh, Snan Yatra.
Oh, okay.
Leading up to the Rath.
So Dravida Prabhu, we want to at least have Jagannath Ashtakam at 6:45. So between now and next 45 minutes, however you want to break it up,
Okay.
poems, talk,
Okay.
more kirtan, whatever you like until 6:45, and then Niharika can lead.
Okay. So let's see. I have some of this poetry memorized, but not all of it. So I hope you'll forgive me for. All right. So we'll start with a nice poem about Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. How about this one? You know this? I think you all know the Sanskrit to this one. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastachari Shatari. Om. I bow to A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, whose mission is to teach the art of purely serving God. To Krishna, no one on this earth can be more dear than he, for at Sri Krishna's lotus feet he dwells eternally. Obeisances to you, O prime disciple of your Lord, Sri Saraswati Thakur, wielder of the preaching sword. By preaching Lord Chaitanya's words, you saved the Western lands from voidism, impersonalist creeds, and all such shams. O Premanande. So now, I'd like to share this very nice, sweet verse. Some of you may know this verse. It's a very easy verse to memorize. It only has about 4 different words in it. By Bilvamangal Thakur. Madhuram, madhuram, vapurasya vibho. Madhuram, madhuram, vadanam, madhuram. Madhugandhi mridu smitame tadaho. Madhuram, 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 madhuram. I think the last line you have memorized by now. Madhuram, madhuram. So he says, sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form. Sweeter still. Now you can visualize, get it hard. Sweet, sweet is my dear Lord's form, sweeter still his face so fair, but his honey-scented gentle smile is sweet beyond compare. So this is, I started writing these poems because I had memorized so many Sanskrit verses, but the devotees basically couldn't understand them so much. I would share the verses, and so I said, let me put some of them into English. So that was one of the first ones. This is another one, Queen Kunti's prayers. You were familiar with those? Some of you may know this verse. Tvaime namnevishaya mati madhupate sakrit ratamun vahataradha gange bhaughamudanvati. O Mother's Lord, please ever fill my mind with thoughts of thee, not any other kind. As Ganges torrent flows into the sea, let all my love flow constantly to thee. It's a very nice one. By the way, if anyone wants my poems, I have a nice PDF file. Just write to me at dravida108@gmail.com, and I'll send you all my poetry. I even have a file, a recording of the Bhakti. And here's one of my favorites by Raghunath Das Goswami from Stavavali, and it's a prayer glorifying the names of Radha and Krishna, and praying that and instructing his tongue to relish those names. It says, the Sanskrit goes like this: Radheti nama navasundara siddha mugdham, Krishneti nama marurapada dugdham, savakshanam suravirage himena ramyam, kritvata daiva pabame rasane chadarte. An excellent fresh nectar drink with endless subtle tastes, such is the name of Radha, by whom all three worlds are graced. Condensed milk that is wonderfully delicious, thick and sweet, such is the name of Krishna, in whom all attractions meet. Now mix these drinks, O thirsty tongue, and add the cooling, fragrant spice of love, a prize the wise will try to buy at any price. And then at every moment drink this beverage most fine, and make my heart supremely blissful, peaceful, and divine. Now, when we chant Hare Krishna, we're calling out to Radha and Krishna, right? Everyone knows. Hare is the vocative form, just like we say, oh, Rocky. Where is Rocky? In the kitchen. Oh, there she is. If I say, oh, Rocky, that's what is Sambodhana in Sanskrit, right? So this is So this verse I chanted, Prabhupada taught us, we're calling out to Krishna. Hare is the vocative form of Hara, and Hara is the goddess of fortune. And Radharani is the origin of all the goddess of fortune. So it's understood to be calling out to Radha and Krishna. And what are we asking for? Please engage me in your service. That's the idea. Devotees ask, what does this Hare Krishna mantra mean? And Prabhupada explained, this is the meaning. And he says on that tape, I think, the famous address for the holy name. So, what he's saying is the name of Radha is like the way he's experiencing it, as a very sweet beverage that you can never get enough of. This is the whole thing about Krishna consciousness. Once you get to the point where you're relishing the holy name, the service, and the deities, you're never satiated. It's never said, okay, I've had enough chanting, let me do something else. You always want to chant more and more in the pure state. And that's why we find, how many names did Haridas Thakur chant in one day? 300,000. That means he was chanting 192 rounds. And we're having trouble finishing 16 rounds. So you can see, he was just chanting. And I once figured it out. If you chant 5 minutes a round, which is pretty fast, it'll take you 5 hours and 40 minutes to chant 64 rounds. And Prabhupada said, yes, he would chant about 16 hours a day. This is Haridas Thakur. You do the 300,000 names. That's 192 rounds. So you can imagine how much he was relishing that holy name. And indeed, after all, Krishna is the personification of Satchidananda, of pure eternity, knowledge, and bliss. And we learn quickly that the name Krishna and Krishna himself are non-different, right? So we can associate with Krishna by chanting that name. And if we chant purely, then we'll get the real benefit of that purification, and we'll feel always be in bliss. So here's another verse about the holy name. And this poem that I wrote about this is Bhadrinarayan Swami's favorite of all my poems. So this verse was chanted by Haridas Thakur himself. He was invited by Raghunath Das's father and uncle. You know, they were very nice devotees also, to come and speak on the holy name. So there was a meeting, and Raghunath was there. He was a youngster, maybe he was 16, 17. And there was an employee that they had there. This is told in the, I think, 3rd chapter of the Antya-lila of the CC. And his name was, remember the name of that Brahmin who was offensive to Haridas Thakur? I forget. Some Smarta Brahmin. And so Haridas said, if you chant, or if you can't chant once, by the way. Chanting means repeating. So if you utter the name once, purely, you'll be liberated, you see. And this Smarta Brahmin, he said, that can't be true, you know. And if it's not true, I'll cut off your nose. This is a big offense to Haridas Thakur, you know. So Haridas said, he laughed, but he said, if it's not true, I'll cut my own nose off. So then he chanted this verse, which is a pretty far out verse. Ang hak sang hadadakilang sakadudihari pasakallalokasya tadaniti patamala jaladin jayati daghan mangalang hare nama. You think you can learn that verse? Maybe later. So then he explained it. And I took the verse itself and the explanation, put it into a little poem. So see what you think. So you have to go back 500 years or so when there's no electricity. When the sun goes down and the moon is new, means that it's amavasya. There's no shining. You know. Then it gets really dark. You can imagine. You know, if you don't build any fires. So when the moon is invisible, withered to nil, and the sun is long gone from the sky, then an ocean of darkness envelops this world. And the timorous, the easily frightened, and the timorous fear they might die. But that thick pall of gloom is at once swept away when the first signs of sunrise appear. And the dawning of day gives assurance to all that in truth, there is nothing to fear. In a similar way, when illusion holds sway and the soul has forgotten his Lord, and the darkness of ignorance covers his heart, sin and suffering are his reward. But as soon as he says Krishna's name even once, in a matter that doesn't offend, then his ignorance flees like the darkness at dawn, and his sin and his suffering end. So there's nothing to fear, for the sun of the name has appeared with his powers divine. In your heart, may that sun, benedictive for all, become fixed and eternally shine. Gaur Premanandi. All right, so here's a couple more, and then I'll maybe speak a little bit on Shikshashtaka, which I also put into the poem. And these are little sayings that you can like put on a T-shirt, something. This first one here, I once gave a class in New Vrindavan. They had a festival every year in those days called the Festival of Inspiration. Some of you may have even attended one or two of those. And they invite me and I give a presentation. So the next day is Sunday. It was always on this Mother's Day. And so I happened to give the morning class. And I chanted this, and Radhanath Swami was there. He was there for the festival. And he liked this poem so much, so write that down. I think I don't know if he ever actually used it in a lecture, but he liked it. So this is the poem. It says, since pleasure is a dream, Krishna is supreme. The aim is prem, and the way is the name. What do you think? Okay. Then there's another one like that. It says, oh, this is a famous one. I use it in my Bhagavad Gita classes every so often. Now you have to understand the way the words are separated. Every body, right? We all have a body, and yet every one of our bodies will die. So every body dies. Nobody dies. Wake up, and open your eyes. You're not that body, you're a pure spirit soul. Chant the holy name and attain life's goal. They made a t-shirt for me. Don't love the body, just a bag of flesh and blood and bone. Give up your sense of ownership for wife and kids at home. At every moment, see that this work taught us on destruction, become detached and learn to love the Lord. That's my instruction. Okay, now I'm going to do the first verse of the Shikshashtaka, and I think we'll explore that in detail. I once wrote a whole article about that in Back to Godhead magazine. Does everyone know that we have a bi-monthly magazine in ISKCON called the Back to Godhead magazine? It used to be monthly. I would put it out weekly. So I used to work with that, and I wrote an article on this one verse. So here's the first verse. Many of you know this by heart. Those who do can chant along with me. I promise to chant slow. Cheto darpanam arjanam baba mahadavagni nirvapanam Shreyakaidavachandrikavatadanam vidyavadu jivanam Anandam buddhivardhanam pradipadam purnamitasvadanam Sarvatmasnaparam param vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. Now before I forget, because I'm forgetting a lot of things, I'm getting old, that I once chanted this is 25 years ago now, in Mayapur, with the poetry. Actually, the whole Shikshashtaka. And it was recorded. And I didn't know it was being recorded. I had Vyasaki as my side man. Andrew was over this shoulder. Radhana Swami was over this shoulder. And Satyananda Swami was also there. And also our old friend Vrindavan, Vrindavan, who's Guru Krishna's son-in-law. He was there as a 17-year-old or something. It's 25 years ago. So if you want to hear it, it's on YouTube. Just the key into the YouTube search, Dravida space Mayapur. And you see, I didn't know it was being recorded even, but there it is. So here's the poem for that. All glory to the chanting of Sri Krishna's holy names, which easily extinguishes samsara's blazing flames by polishing the lust-encrusted mirror of the heart. That chanting is the waxing moon that knows the secret art of causing the white lotus of good fortune to unfurl its petals far and wide throughout this bleak and blighted world. Of transcendental knowledge, which will take us to life's goal, the chanting of the name of Krishna is the life and soul. The ocean of ecstatic bliss floods far beyond its bounds, wherever Krishna's merciful and mystic name resounds. Indeed, whenever Krishna's names are sung in congregation, at every step one tastes a joy that knows no limitation. So hear with great attention as I earnestly request, please chant Shri Krishna's holy name and be supremely blessed. The soothing nectar of the name will bathe your consciousness, bestow pure love for Krishna, and eradicate distress. So let's explore this critical verse. The first statement is Cheto Darpana Marjanam, which means it polishes the mirror, the Darpana of the heart. Now, this is a little sidelight, as Bhakti Swami would say. Isn't it far out? Sanskrit is such a far out language that the word Darpana means mirror, and the word Darpa means vanity. If you're really vain, don't you want to look in the mirror and always say, Darpana, Darpa. Anyway, so the first statement is very important to understand that our mind is, since time immemorial, all the different births we've been in, we've been accumulating different desires and different ideas and impressions, fears and loves and all these different things. And that subtle body, our mind and intelligence, that carries us to the next body, one after another. This is the science. It's explained nicely near the beginning of the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. You read it. And so the wonder of the wonderful quality of the Hare Krishna mantra, one of its effects that we have, first effect, is that our heart becomes cleansed. What's so wonderful about Krishna consciousness is that we already have it. It's already there. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kavanoi. Shabanadi Shuddha Chatik Pradayehudoi. This is related to that Shikshashtaka verse. So Krishna is telling Sanatana Goswami there that the eternal perfection of love of God, prema, which is actually our goal, which includes mukti. We may start, I really want to get out of this material world. Hare Krishna, birth, death, old age, disease. Yes, Krishna says, remember that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. But as you progress, you become less involved in that. You already feel liberated as if you become really Krishna conscious. And what you're really after is the prema, pure love of God, which comes from completely pure heart. But the first installment of that chanting is liberation. And that's what Bhava Mahadav Agni Nivapanam. That's the first line. So Bhava is birth and death. Davagni is a blazing fire, a forest fire. Nirvapanam extinguishes. So by chanting congregationally, this is about the Sankirtan, with full enthusiasm and attention and everything, that cleanses the mirror of the heart, and you can see who you are. Because otherwise, with all that dust of lust on there, you can't even understand that we're spirit souls. We identify with the body. So by that cleansing process, we begin to become realized that I'm actually spirit, and that this chanting is so beautiful, and you become attracted to Krishna. And with that attraction to Krishna, and your lessening of desire to enjoy in this material world, because those desires are being cleansed away, then you are on a liberated platform, even in this body. Prabhupada would always quote this verse, Iha yasya hare dasi karma namana sagara nikalashrap yavastasu jivan mukta sa uchite. If all of your activities in this world are part of devotional service, that's Iha. The long I and the A means, doesn't mean here, it means your activities. Yasya are in the realm of hare dasi, servants of Krishna. And what are those? He's karmana manasagara, your senses, your active senses, your mind, and your words. They're all related to Krishna and connected to Krishna. Nikolash wrote about Jivan, one is known as the Jivan Mukta. In other words, a liberated soul even in this world. So that's the very first verse. Then he says, Shreyak Kairava Chandrika Tadanam. Shreya, what does it mean, you know? Good fortune. You know the verse, yeah. Shreya and prayers, right? Shreya is the best. Kairava is just like a lotus flower that blooms at night with the moonshine, right? So the Sankirtan it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. That's this immortal phrase from Prabhupada in his translation, his original translation. So the chanting of the holy name is like it's shining through moonshine everywhere, because going out on the street, it's public, you know. And it's causing the white lotus of good fortune to blossom, to give good fortune for everybody. Vidyavadu jivanam. And it's the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. And this is another point, that knowledge of who we are, what our relationship with Krishna is, all of that, that's also within us. You see? That's also within us. So by chanting, we become, the usual way is that we become really interested in books like the Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, which are giving us this knowledge. That attraction and that faith in the knowledge is nourished by the chanting of the holy name. And then, so now, after all, what we're after is bliss, right? So anandam buddhivardhanam. So it causes the ocean of happiness that's within us to expand more and more and more unlimitedly. Anandam buddhivardhanam, vardhanam like govardhanam, which is nourishes or expands. Anandam buddhivardhanam, pratipadam purnamitasvardhanam. And every step, you know, whether you're taking your steps on the, you know, in the temple, chanting and dancing, or just every step of life, you can taste that nectar from which we're always being anxious. Pratipadam purnamitasvardhanam. So then comes he emphasizes the bathing and the cleansing. Sarvatma snaparam. Snaparam is a bath. So he says everyone should take a subtle bath, you know, a spiritual bath in this Hare Krishna chanting, congregational chanting and dancing. Sarvat Mastam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, and all glories and all victory to this chanting of the holy name, Sri Krishna Sankirtanam. So the whole Krishna conscious movement is practically based on that verse. Now, just the next few, I'll just go through, because he takes a role in this next verse of someone who doesn't have any taste for the chanting. This is Lord Krishna speaking. He's teaching us how we should pray. Nam Namakadi Vahodani to Sarva Shaktis. Tatrapita niyamita. Anyone who knows this can feel free to chant with me. Nam namakari bahudani sarva shakti tatrapita niyamitat smaranena kala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaiva vidashamiha dhaninanuraga. Krishna, Govinda, and Keshava too. Your names have no end, and in each of them you have invested your potencies, leaving none out. Whenever we want, we can chant them without the slightest restriction of time or of place. O Lord, who can fathom your infinite grace, that I am so wretched, devoid of all shame, that I haven't developed a taste for your name. So Lord Chaitanya is teaching us how we should, of course he has infinite taste for the name, but he's going on with this wonderful prayer. So the idea is Krishna has unlimited names, and each of them is non-different from Krishna himself. They tell us about his pastimes, his qualities, and his avatars, So, and the wonderful thing, there's no hard and fast rule for chanting, neither for person, place, or time. You can chant the Hare Krishna mantra and only the Hare Krishna mantra in the bathroom. Don't chant any other slokas from Bhagavad Gita or anything. But you can't chant in the bathroom. You can chant anywhere. So, and Bhagavan Nijasa, and you've invested all your energies in them, so we can get purified. And there is no, and anyone can chant from any background. This is the great ecumenical force of Lord Chaitanya's movement. My name, Lord Chaitanya predicts in the Chaitanya Bhagavad, it's recorded. My name will be chanted in every town and village throughout this world. On the strength of that prediction, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he sent, Srila Prabhupada wasn't the first one he sent. As soon as he met him, he said, "You're intelligent, part of the intelligent next generation. Why don't you spread Krishna consciousness all over the world?" And Prabhupada was then a staunch follower of Mahatma Gandhi's movement. And he said, "Well, we're not even independent. Who's going to listen to anything from India now?" And Bhaktisiddhanta said, "No, it doesn't. It's too important to wait. It doesn't matter if we're independent or not." And so Prabhupada, afterward, he felt very fortunate to have been defeated by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Prabhupada was never defeated before. He was such a good debater amongst his friends. But that was his first meeting. So on that order and subsequent orders in the same vein, Bhaktisiddhanta wanted Prabhupada to travel abroad. We all know the story. And finally, after preaching in India for so many and going through so many things, at age 68, actually, when he got on the boat, the cargo ship, Jaladuta, ready to go to America, he turned 69 on that boat because he celebrated Janmashtami on there with the captain. And just imagine the courage and the sincerity and determination for Prabhupada to do that. 2 heart attacks, going to a strange land, no real contacts, no money. I mean, you have to be completely surrendered to Krishna to have that kind of, and we know the result, and that's why we're all sitting here. So that's the verse there, and then of course the next one, and I think I'll go through one more after this because I won't go through all of them. But this famous verse, which Krishna's Kaviraj said we should all wear around our necks. In other words, this should be an integral part of our understanding as we chant this mood. All right, all together. Trinadapi sunichena, tadorapi sahishnuna, amanina mananena, kirtaniyak sadahari. Now, before I give the little poem translation of this, I'll tell you a little editing adventure. Because the printing of the CC, the second line was Todo Iva Sahishnuna. And I said, well, this follows the Bengali, this must be the way it is, so I started. But actually, that was a misprint. Is that as it appears in the Padyabali, which is the source of this, is Todo Api, which means more tolerant than a tree, not just as tolerant than a tree. And a tree is extremely tolerant. So here's the translation. More humble than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, to think all praise belongs to others, none belongs to me. Such qualities attract the Lord to bless one with the power to chant his name incessantly until the final hour. That final hour is when we leave this body. So this verse is so important because the mood in which we chant is so important. If that's why it said, don't ever listen to chanting or kirtan by a non-devotee. It can be profitable. You become very skilled, but if you're not a devotee, it's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. It may taste the same, but it doesn't give you the same nourishment. It'll kill you. So it can stifle your bhakti creeper. So there's so many wonderful kirtaniyas that danger is lessening now. So this is a central verse about how we should feel and how we should uh, embrace that mood, the intolerance and humility and glorification of others. And then this one, next is very important also. You can share with me if you know it. Nadanan jananan sundari kapitan va jagadish kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavata bhakti rahoitu kitvahi. So Lord Chaitanya is teaching us in this verse what we shouldn't pray for and what we should pray for. So wealth and women, followers, the fruits of mundane piety, liberation from this world of limitless anxiety. For me, O Lord, these common goals have not the slightest worth. Let me serve you purely now and in each future birth. So this is really important because it's possible to become fruitive. Even you go to a temple. I went to like a Hindu temple in Winnipeg time, and there's Ganesh, and there's Lord Shiva and Parvati. There's Narayan with Lakshmi, and in other words, whoever you have faith in, you can pray to them for what you want. But that's not the mood. You go into the Hare Krishna temple and you see Radha Krishna. We will see Jagannath, even sometimes Jagannaths. And but we're not going to see some demigod that we can pray to for material things. So that's not money, things they usually pray for. None of this interests me. And then amazingly he says, Mama Janmani Janmanishware. There he's saying birth after birth. So he's not even praying for liberation. Then what is he praying? Bhavada bhakta dahoitu kitvahi. Please let me have unmotivated, unmaterially motivated devotion unto you birth after birth. So this is it. And then finally, one more prayer, and those who know this. Ainannatanu dikinkaram kotitam mam vishamem bhavambudo kripaya tavapada pankaja sitaduli sabhasham vichindaya. Your servant for eternity, I lost my true identity and fell into this horrid sea of birth and death, O Lord. O Nanda's son, please hear my plea. By your sweet grace, consider me a speck of dust upon your lotus feet forevermore. So this is, again, the mood in which we should chant. Recognizing we've fallen from Krishna's service from the spiritual world. And this verse seems to me to be very indicative that we did fall. The very word patitam is there, fall. So we recognize our fallen condition. So please let me have some humble position of service for you, O Lord. That is the only thing I aspire for. And then the other verses are also very important. So what else was on the agenda? Questions and answers?
Yeah, there's time for questions. Any questions or comments?
Objections? Original poems that you wrote during the class? Yes, Prabhu.
Why Lord Chaitanya is not praying for liberation?
Why is he not praying for liberation?
Mike.
Yeah, the mic.
Oh, he has a mic.
Oh, you got a mic? Yeah, but that's going to play back in the temple. Looks like one of the temples.
So Lord Chaitanya is not playing for liberation. But like Vedas say, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Moksha means liberation. So Lord
Yes.
Chaitanya is not playing for liberation.
Well, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Those are the four main goals, right? But there's the panchama purushartha, which is the actual ultimate goal, which is love for Krishna. The thing is that this is how it works, because Krishna emphasizes that in the Bhagavad Gita. Why would he say in chapter 13, in that all of that list between verse 8 and 12, I think it is, of 20 or so elements of knowledge, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Doshana, Darshanam. One should always see and be aware of the evils or the pains of birth, old age, disease, and death. So why would he say that? Unless he's trying to inspire us to desire liberation. And this is the point, is that Krishna consciousness is meant to be an evolution, a development of our desires, progressive purification of our desire. You see? I like to use the word sublimation. Has anyone heard that before, to sublimate? It's not so common anymore. But it means to make sublime, you see? And so our desires in the material world, they're not sublime. They're material desires. They keep us bound here. So what's the result of that? What's going to get us on the path? We may see Krishna and Bhakti and everything. That's like, I can't relate to that. But we can relate to the death and old age and disease as something we want to try to avoid. We just don't think there is any way of avoiding it. But that's the promise. Krishna consciousness, yes, if you go back to Godhead, you'll never come back to this world and you'll be free from birth, old age, disease, and death. So that's good for getting us serious about practicing devotional service. But along the way, the more that you start tasting the pleasure, the transcendental pleasure of Krishna consciousness, then that becomes less important for you. And then you come to the point even, liberation, oh, that sounds like Kaivalya. So we have a verse, Kaivalyam Nadakayate. That, just liberation alone into the Brahman, that's like going to hell for a devotee. This is a verse by, Brahman, help me.
Prabodhananda Saraswati.
Is it Prabodhananda? Prabodhananda Saraswati, thank you. So you start with that, but then you graduate from it. But it's an important first impetus, because otherwise you're coming back. Anything else you do, you're going to come back again and suffer. And we don't know what environment, what it's going to be like. Climate change will be much worse. That's one thing. We don't want to come back. So that, but as you progress, then eventually that becomes secondary. Until you find that then a beautiful verse by Bhava Mangal Thakur at the end near the end of the Karnamrita. He says, Bhaktis, probably will quote this verse, Bhaktis tvayis tadata bhagavan yadisyat daivena nakpaladi divya kishora murti mukti swayam mukulditanjali sevatesman dharma kama kata yaksama yakpatiksha. Notice he got dharma kama and moksha there in one verse. So he's saying, my dear Lord, Krishna, Bhakti Swahi Sthitatata, one who is firmly fixed in devotion to you, Bhagavan, then he gets the fruit of that one point of devotion. And what is that? Mukti? No. A vision of your beautiful adolescent form is Govinda. That's the result. And as far as Mukti is concerned, he personifies it. She's standing at the door with this Anjali. This means, how can I serve you? You see? She's ready to serve. You get that automatically. And as far as Dharma, Artha, and Kama, whatever I need in the way of those, they're also ready to serve me. So that's the idea, is that Mukti is important as a first impetus for getting on the path and practicing. But as you practice, you soon lose your interest if you're really tasting devotional service. Okay, where do we go from here? Any other questions, comments? Hare Krishna. And now I'm completely lost track.
Hare Krishna.
How long should I go?
We have 10 more minutes before Jagannath Ashtaka.
Okay.
10 more minutes.
So you said don't listen to non-devotee.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
Well, don't listen to non-devotees, especially if they're trying to glorify Krishna or chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, that's it.
But if they are singing, the singer may be not getting the benefit of singing it. But if you are listening with the sincerity, don't you get the benefit of listening to it? Because
No.
somewhere else we say,
Well,
Shravana
it's better than listening to some, rock music, certainly. But no, the point is that the mood, of the singer enters into the sound, and that's part of what the effect. And if the mood, why is he singing? If he doesn't believe in Krishna, like there's this one, I'm not going to name names, but I don't know if he's going around doing bhajan. But he perfectly said, I'm not a devotee of Krishna. I don't know if he said I don't believe in Krishna, but he can sing very sweetly, and devotees will listen to him, but they shouldn't, because there's this one very incredible purport in the fourth canto. I don't know the exact reference. And Prabhupada talks there about the quality of the voice of the pure devotee, and how it's in touch with these saffron mercy particles of the lotus feet of Krishna. And so if you just hear that voice, even if you don't know the meaning of the words, it'll affect you. Conversely, if someone is not a devotee, then that faithlessness will also be there, and that it's harmful. There's a verse where I quote the whole verse, but sarpa chishtam yatapaya. It's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. The poison is there; it may not change the taste, and you think, "Oh, this is milk; it's very nourishing." But no, it's poison. Don't drink it. You see. So when you go to the temple, it may be Bhakta Bob who's chanting the artik, but he's a devotee. He's not some some materialist. So that's the importance of it. The sound is very subtle. The effect is subtle. Okay. Anyone else? All right, so we have still a minute or two, or 5 minutes?
Yeah, like 5 minutes.
All right, how about a few little more poems?
Yes.
Okay, so this is a prayer from Rupa Goswami. Let's see. Yes. Manasitapani dushte, labdapatos mi dushte, timadagahana rupe, hanta sangsara kupe, ajita nikala rakshahe tamuddhara dakshan, upanayama mahaste, bhakti rajum namaste. Fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is near in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hands and pull me out. Written as well. Now, what do we have to do? Suppose Krishna's up there and the rope of bhakti comes down. We have to hold on to that rope. In other words, if we strictly follow the principles and practices of bhakti yoga, the do's and the don'ts, then that's our holding onto the rope. And every time, without fail, Krishna will pull us out of Maya, and we'll feel safe at his lotus feet. That's a very nice prayer. What was that other one? Oh, there's so many. Well, here's another one about the holy name, the sweetness of the holy name. This is Prabhupada quotes this in the book. Madhuramadanamaitan mangalam mangalanam sakala nigamavalli satpalam chitswarupam sakradapi padigitam shraddaya helayava brigavara nadamatram tarit Krishna nama. Of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time. Of all things that of sweet things, it's the sweetest you will taste at any time.
All the things that bring good fortune.
Thanks. Of things that bring good fortune, it's the perfect paradigm. Of all the Vedic writings, it's the transcendental fruit, the very form of spirit, unalloyed and absolute. When uttered even once with faith or uttered once with none, from birth and death it surely will deliver anyone. And in the end, it brings pure love for Krishna, life's true aim. So cast away all doubt and chant Sri Krishna's holy name. Hare Krishna. Okay. So now, we're going to sing the Jai.
I just have a few, just